Thank you to NADA so much for having us. As he mentioned, my name is Lauren Driver. I'm bound to work in auto at some point in my life with that last name, right? And joined here by my partner, Drake, at Turnkey Marketing. I am the head of industry for dining, auto, and travel for TikTok, based out of the Austin office. We got shout out to the crew in the back after this, if you want to meet with any of the TikTok crew. But Drake, I'd love for you to kick off and just kind of talk a little bit more about what Turnkey Marketing is, just to ground the audience in that.
Well, excellent. Well, first of all, I'd just say, how cool is it that TikTok is being discussed at NADA? Who would have thought this would have been a topic a few years ago? I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? So for me, NADA is something really special, and for Turnkey Marketing, my brother and I had actually founded the company back in 2002, and this marks our 21st NADA that we've been to and exhibited at. So thank you to the NADA team for always doing a terrific job.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
This is my first one, and your 21st one.
It's nuts, isn't it? But really with Turnkey Marketing and with TikTok, we're really positioned as an operational marketing firm helping dealerships overcome challenges, not just from an advertising side, but also operationally and how all of those items flow together. So it's nice to see TikTok continuing to innovate along with NADA and making things like this available.
That's awesome. So talk a little bit more about the challenges you're trying to solve for dealerships.
Ooh, challenges. Just quick question by show of hands. Anybody have any challenges at their dealership right now? Everything's perfect?
Oh, I see some hands.
Right.
Also, just the slides aren't working, just FYI.
So, I think there's a lot of challenges we're having to face right now. Obviously, affordability is a big challenge right now. Floor plan costs is a big challenge. People and process, getting back to the basics, right? Marketing, that's a big challenge too. There's all these issues that are going on right now in the automotive space that dealers are having to fight for, manufacturers, their partners, and so on. But none of these challenges are things that we haven't seen or experienced before as an industry. And to quote a dear friend of mine, I hope he's watching or here right now, we've all seen these things happen in the automotive industry before. We've all lived through them. We just may not have seen them all happening at the exact same time, right? So, one of the big challenges that we're really trying to help dealers work on is I believe firmly that there's three things that are required for a dealership operation to be successful. There's a lot of other micro items, but you have three really big items. You got to have exceptional people and process, number one, right? You have to have exceptional marketing. You have to have exceptional inventory. And especially a lot of the dealers that are here at the session, it's a wild ride right now. It's a wild ride in the used car market. Some of you have franchises that have maybe more inventory than what you'd like to be flooring right now. Some of you are in a situation where you'd like to have a little bit more. So I think a lot of this that's happening right now is everybody has to kind of get out of their swim lane a little bit. And what I mean by that is really rolling up the sleeves. That's what we're trying to do, is really roll up the sleeves and get into the other areas, not just to advertise, but to help the partners, because it may not be our fault, but it will be our problem if they're not successful.
I think that's a great summary and kind of brings us to the next point of how can TikTok help, right? So as you're working with your partners, how are you thinking about integrating TikTok into your marketing mix, and maybe how that's evolved over the past few years, especially knowing that TikTok as a platform hasn't been around for that long, and even as a sales organization, we've only been around for give or take 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we've been working with TikTok for 5 years now, which makes us ancient in the TikTok world, okay? But TikTok should be an item in your media mix that is a must-have. Okay, it doesn't matter who you're doing it with. If you're doing it internally on your own, you're using another partner, you're using Turnkey Marketing, it doesn't matter. You need to be using TikTok, okay? And think about a few things of why we believe it's important for you to be on TikTok. Number one, how many of you guys in here advertise with another social media platform? I don't want to say it. Zucky? Anyone? Okay, all right. So you guys know who I'm talking about, what other platforms. Here's a crazy thing. As dealerships, when we're advertising, oftentimes we're just reaching the same person over and over and over. Whereas most of the large portion of the users on TikTok are not daily active users on, say, Facebook or Meta, with the Meta platforms in there. So I really like to use TikTok to reach new people that I'm not currently reaching with my other advertising, whether that be Google or my TV or radio or whatever mediums there are in there. It's just one of those things where I often look at budgets and I think, wait a minute, we're spending all this money on TV or whatever it might be, these traditional areas, but we're missing the largest short-form video social platform on the planet. Like, why would we not want to be there, I mean, you take a look at the slide that's displayed behind me right now. You're talking, take a look at this. The average TikTok user spends 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. That's longer than the average length of a movie.
I was going to say, just show of hands, are you that user? Anyone in the room? Because, oh, I see some in the back. We've got over 90 minutes. Yes, yes. That's just the average watch time. So, like, to your point, there is a new audience for dealers on TikTok that is mostly untapped at this point. So
absolutely.
The unduplicated reach is something that Drake and I have been talking about too versus other platforms, so also an opportunity.
100%. And you know, with your guys' platform with TikTok, you have a lot of means to reaching customers, not just from your interest targeting, your audience targeting, your geographic targeting. That's, you know, I don't mean to skip ahead, team, but I mean, gosh dang it, it's nice to be able to target customers on a zip code level instead of having to drop these massive radiuses, especially if you're in a big area, right? LA, Dallas, things like that. So TikTok, you can target on a zip code. And I'll tell you this, I don't think I shared this with you yet, Lauren, but when TikTok rolled out zip code level targeting, we saw a 17% increase in website traffic just from that adjustment alone. Okay,
that's incredible.
Without any additional budget. So yeah, reach those new customers out there, team. Your buyers are there. It's not a bunch of kids. All those myths of children on TikTok, throw it out the window. Okay, TikTok has incredible targeting incomes and all kinds of different things you can do. So.
Love that. So let's talk a little bit about the consumer and how you're building for reaching those consumers. So let's talk a little bit about the organic strategy. So as you're working with your partners, I'll go to the next slide because we've done research on our side that shows that consumers are actively coming to search on the platform. It's almost the new Google in some sense because of the dynamic results that they get when searching, right? So test drive reviews, vehicle models, anything that's showing features is really prominently searched on the platform. And so I'm curious from your perspective, as you're building an organic strategy with your clients, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love how you mentioned the search aspect. There's a lot of it. And some of you guys might remember that, you know, who's a famous talk show host? I can't remember him now, but you know, the hashtag joke, right? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, anyway, so lots of searching from hashtags in there. But anyways, here's the thing on the organic side is I know a lot of you in here use TikTok, and some of you have been on the TikTok rabbit hole. For example, I opened up my TikTok app about a month ago, and then now suddenly I'm here, and I just put it back down, right? So it has a really good algorithm that keeps you engaged on in there. One of the things that's really unique, though, is that a lot of dealerships have not set up their own TikTok pages. Okay, and I want
What do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Maybe just not knowing how. Maybe it seems too challenging. There could be a myriad of things. Probably educate, like just not knowing on the platform. But if we kind of go back down the history of like with Facebook, a lot of you when you had Facebook pages, anybody could create one, right? Then Facebook went through a page verification process, which was a whole nightmare. You had to go ahead and get business license and this and that to prove that that was your page. You know, with TikTok, it's important you have your own organic page created in there because you have employees at your dealership, all of you, right? And you might have Joe Schmo who's doing a really good job for you posting videos, and Joe Schmo might have named his TikTok page the name of your dealership. And guess what? When Joe Schmo no longer works there, quits or was fired or something like that, is that the person that you want speaking on behalf of your dealership that's been around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 years? Right? So create that organic TikTok page, have that, so that way your salespeople, you can turn them into micro-influencers. They can reference that page. They can get that engagement going. I believe in this so much that if you don't have a TikTok page, if you don't know how to create it, we'll create it for you for free. I don't even care if you do business with us or not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just, it is that important for dealerships to protect their brand by having that TikTok page. So
I think that's great. So let's switch a little bit, talking about organic. Let's go to paid, right? So again, we've done research on our side that shows what consumers are looking for from brands. So behind us, there's just a few examples of that. I know your team has done their own research and has been testing a lot. So talk about the paid strategy from an upper and lower funnel perspective.
Yeah, so TikTok really transcends all places of the funnel. You get a great myriad of people who are from the early interest stages, early brand awareness stages, all the way down to people that are looking to go ahead and make that vehicle purchase or service. Don't just think variable operations, you got to think fixed operations as well too. And so, you know, when you're creating content on a organic level, I want to just hit on that one more time, don't try to overthink it, okay? Just put something up there. Done is better than perfect. Because I want to put a little point out there, and this ties into the paid advertising side as well. We see a big hindrance or challenge, I should say, for a lot of dealerships where they just don't know what type of content to put up. And they look at all the TikTok videos and they say, oh, you got to make your videos just like this, and a TikTok customer's like this, and they make all these premonitions of what a TikTok customer is. Well, guess what happens if all your content looks just like a TikTok customer? It looks like everybody else's, right? You don't stand out. So in a lot of our research that we've done, we've found that honestly, as silly as it seems, and it surprised us as an organization, but good old car ads actually work, okay? Of course you want good message. Of course you want creative that stands out. Of course it's a short form video platform, so you want to be able to get your message across the moment somebody goes out and hits that video on their scroll, on in there. But just don't overthink it. Put something up there that you think is valuable to you and you'd want to share with your customers. You do that every day in your Google ads. You do that every day on your website sliders. You do that every day on your TV and radio commercials. Just do it on TikTok too. It's that easy.
Well, and we know that TikTok is a different platform than others, right? Like users are really looking for authentic content, and we know that it's a challenge at times to build the correct content and that authentic voice. So I know that Drake and team have done some testing on what creative is working on TikTok. So let's go through a few examples.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, this is getting exciting here. All right, so a couple things on the TikTok creative. There's a myriad of different types of creative that we have found that works most effectively on the platform. And when I mentioned we've been advertising on TikTok for the past 5 years now, there was a lot of hard knocks, candidly, right? To try to figure out. There was a lot of graceful fall downs and jump back on up on there. But what we have concluded from the metric side, when I say metrics, what I'm measuring is the amount of people that are engaging with the content, the amount of people that are clicking on the content and going to the website, and then what are they doing at the dealership, and then tracking all of that through, because obviously you want to track that through your GA4 and all the other measurement protocols. But content that stands out works, okay? This ad here actually was a dynamic inventory ad. And where it actually will feed in the inventory live from the dealership, and then the customer can click on it, go look at the VDPs and so on in there. Now it pulls them all into the remarketing audiences, the retargeting audiences. There's event ads in here. There's a lead gen ad example in here. And I know without seeing these things playing at, no worries, no worries. Feel free to stop by 3329 and you can see the actual live videos. But anyways, one of the really cool things about that I just like to say is on lead gen ads. How many of you guys have done Facebook lead gen ads? Just raise your hand. Be honest, okay? Okay, now raise your hand if the Facebook leads that you get from Facebook lead gen ads are absolutely awesome and close at a high rate. Raise your hands. Okay, exactly, right? So I want to point this out on TikTok. On the the TikTok lead gen ads, we ran a case study on this because what we found is that the leads that are generated on TikTok, because it does require more user effort on in there, actually have a contact rate that is 6.3 times higher than that of Facebook and have a close rate that's even higher than that. So again, I'm just trying to dispel some myths here. TikTok is not a bunch of kids. It's buyers and people that want to do business with your dealership. Get on there.
Love that. So let's focus on creative a little bit more because we know how important it is to the platform. So you've got a whole slew of people in here, right? Probably some OEMs as well. Talk about what they can do to help dealers in this journey to get to short form video.
Yeah, so we've been taught and conditioned for years and years and years that the way to take a picture, I'm going to pull out my giant iPhone 13 mini because I love tiny phones. Okay, we've been taught forever that this is how we take photos, right? In the landscape format. Well, in the TikTok world, it's all about the vertical format. So, an area that we'd love to see, we really appreciate everything that OEMs do from their ad planners and asset portals, where they really invest in a very significant amount of money for great content that's becoming of the brand, and we'd love to see more dealers using that. To help foster that, it would be great to have those same exact wonderful pieces in vertical format, okay? That's all we're requesting, just vertical format so the dealers can use this more effectively on in there. I think that'll be a big aspect. But challenge yourself on TikTok, right? Try different things, try different ads. And you said a great thing earlier, Lauren, of authenticity. Authentic content, right? It doesn't have to be scripted or anything, just get out there and do it,
So one thing that makes TikTok so unique versus other platforms is the sound element, right? It is a full bleed, full screen sound on platform. So that's one thing we haven't touched on that much. Have you and your team played around with sound at all?
Yeah, so this is a really fun one. TikTok, there's a lot of tools available where you can see what the latest trending audio is. All of us that use TikTok, when we're scrolling through, you start hearing these similar pieces of audio that are going in there, and maybe you're like me and you go to iTunes and you're like, oh, I want to download the TikTok playlist so I can seem like a cool old uncle to my nieces, okay? But the really neat thing about it though is that we found that the trending audio definitely has we get better response on the ads. So when there's audio that's hot, we drop it like it's hot, okay? Now, if there's when that audio shifts, it's very important to go ahead and update that, right? You want to stay on top of your content. So don't think that you always have to change on the ad all of the creative you did. Because remember, these are video ads, right? And this is the largest social short-form video platform in the world. And when you're on there, sometimes just making an ad perform a little bit better is just changing the audio. It's that simple. Yeah.
Has anyone in the audience seen the commercial music library? Any hands? Not that many. Check it out, because that's what Drake's mentioning is the trending sounds that are happening. You can always find that in the commercial music library. And there's ones that are already approved for brands to use versus others that are more for organic use. So I think that's an important point. So creative, like we've mentioned, is a huge, huge element of success on the platform. And we together have tools that you can use to be successful. So Drake, I mean, we're so excited to see all the success you've had thus far, because I'll just say it here, but TikTok hasn't even built yet for auto, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to make sure the audience hears about ROI. Yes. So let's talk about that.
All right, so this is an interesting item. You'll see on the slide here, this is just comparing TikTok performance to Facebook performance in there. And we're not saying, don't do a certain platform. What we are saying is that you need to add TikTok. We really believe in that, and we have the data that proves that TikTok's and I just want to put the record, I don't work for TikTok, just so everybody knows. I work for car dealers, okay? So the only thing I'm interested in is ROI for our dealers. If it doesn't make you money, if it doesn't bring you the money, we're not gonna do it, right? So that's why we recommend it. And I can tell you, I can remember, because I'm a little bit aged now, trying to convince dealers they needed to advertise on these things that they thought was a fad called websites. It was crazy. Then this thing called Google came around, and God forbid they'd pay 25 cents for a click, but now they'll pay $4, $5, $6. Then this thing called Facebook came around. That was just a bunch of kids. We don't want to advertise on Facebook. It's all kids. Well, now it's all the old people, right? Don't make the same mistake with TikTok, because you'll look at the metrics here in TikTok. It's, first of all, the cost per click is cheaper. You reach the people at a third of the cost that Facebook costs, so TikTok is much more economical. The video views, you get far more. I mean, you're getting over twice as many video views on in there, and that's the really neat thing. And a lot of you spend money on TV, and a lot of you spend money on video. I'm not knocking that. What I'm saying is that the main reason you probably do that is because video allows you to create what? An emotional connection. Allows you to put everything there. See it, touch it, feel it, right? Think about that way with TikTok. Don't think about so much as a social platform. Think about more of just another distribution place you're putting your videos, okay? So yeah, economically, rock star level on TikTok.
Love to see it. So I mentioned this a little bit, but we're so excited about the success that you've seen thus far, and also just sharing a few highlights recently in the past few months from the news cycle. But we haven't even started to build yet for auto specifically when it comes to TikTok products. So 2024 for us is the year of building more customized products for this vertical. So get excited about that. We are really excited to have Drake and his team as one of our alpha partners for what we're calling our auto inventory ads products that's launching this quarter. So you'll continue to see our team iterate on that over the coming quarters, but I want you to talk a little bit more about that and elaborate on what a game changer that is for Tier 3 for you.
Yeah, this is going to be a big game changer for the whole industry, especially for Tier 3. So we started playing around with automotive inventory ads, a version that wasn't officially through TikTok. It was a way that, for lack of a better word, we figured a workaround around it. And when we started running that in there, number one, we saw a 32% increase in impressions, okay? Then from that, we saw a 34% increase in actual clicks on the ad to the website. Now, here's the part where y'all need to put your seatbelt on when I tell you this. So, because a lot of us in here, when we look at advertising, we look at a lot of times what is happening on my virtual dealership from the ads, meaning my website, right? We saw a 87% improvement on non-bounce sessions. So what does that mean? It means not only are we getting more people, but they're more sticky. And they're sticky from the automotive inventory ads. So here's a cool thing for all the dealerships out here. Instead of having to rethink, how do I do this? It's another platform I got to do creative on. I got to do this and make it really burdensome. When you integrate in the automotive inventory ads, and what I'm really excited about with you guys doing endemically, natively on in there, it's going to be so much smarter. Creates more opportunities to send data back to TikTok to more effectively target my customers and the types of people that are engaging with my ads and so on. So the inventory ads, which is completely opposite of what a consumer thinks, or probably most of us think in here of what a TikToker is or a TikTok ad, people want this. The consumers are saying, I want to see your inventory. I want to see your products. I want to see your dealership. And yes, you guys still put a cool little video that accompanies it. But this is going to be game-changing for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. Can I just see a quick show of hands? Who's bought something from TikTok? Okay, a lot of hands. So TikTok already is endemic to categories such as beauty, apparel, right? Like you're buying clothing, you're buying health products, you're buying beauty. But like Drake's saying, for automotive, you've been having to hack that product on the back end with video shopping ads. So we are here to produce something more custom for auto. This is what I'm calling the year of auto on TikTok 2024. So more to come from us in that space.
And your last name is Driver. So
I'm here to drive things forward. So one last just kind of softball question for you, Drake. For anyone in the room who's struggling to kind of get started on the platform, what would be your recommendation to them?
Yeah, I think just a few things. Number one, get on it. Don't let it be a barrier. TikTok is not should not be a barrier for you. It's an opportunity to get your dealership, whether it's institutional advertising, VIN-specific advertising, events,
recruitment.
Yeah,
too.
Recruitment, charities that you're participating in. To think about TikTok really transcends all of those aspects on in there. If you don't have a TikTok page created for your dealership, please create one. Feel free to see Turnkey Marketing. I mean, we're right behind those doors at 3329. We'll have our team create one for you. Like literally in a year or two from now, or down the road, I imagine near future, I'm sure TikTok's going to put in page verification. You don't want to have to go through that nightmare. The other thing I just put on in there too is try to create a TikTok champion at your dealership. That's one thing I've seen really successful at stores, when you designate a TikTok champion and you create a plan for them, okay? We can give you guys a free plan if you'd like. We have a whole thing for it. Feel free to pick it up. You don't even have to talk to anybody. Just grab it and go. But designate a TikTok champion, okay? Someone who's going to be taking videos at your dealership. And again, think service drives. A really fun, creative one that I saw recently, got a lot of action. This is really cool. Is a service manager on his own was really smart, thinking, how do I go and drive more fixed operations business? I want more fixed ops business in here. So when a customer brings in a vehicle, he does this cool little skit where he says, what are they listening to? And all he does is he walks out to the car, hops in, turns it on, and sees whatever the station is that was on that the customer's listening to. And it's crazy because all these people throwing, comments and this and that in there of what they think the person should have been listening to or whatever, but it's really interesting stuff. So yeah, just get in there.
Well, I think the music element goes nicely with TikTok too, right? Of the sound of that. So it's a really interesting trend. So, well, Drake, thank you so much for your time. I think that's all we have today. We're not doing open Q&A, but the TikTok team is in the back, and Drake and I will be here for any questions that you have afterwards. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.